Hi, I'm House Republican Leader jt-wilcox. Throughout this year, I've been providing video updates on what's happening in your citizen legislature. These videos have been very well received, and I appreciate all of you who've shared them on social media. Even though our state has a part-time legislature, our work as state lawmakers continues throughout the year. And that includes engaging in policy issues and discussions with stakeholders, and of course, assisting with constituents. I'd like to talk about one of those policy issues today, and I've been traveling all over the state over the last couple of months, and I know that this is an issue whether you live in a big city like Seattle or a small town like Yelm. This is housing affordability. And I'd also like to introduce my 2nd District seatmate, Representative Andrew Barkis. I'd also like to say that Andrew, through his profession and his business, has been responsible for housing probably more people than just about anyone else in the legislature. His deep knowledge on related policy has really been an asset to the legislature and the House Republican caucus. Welcome, Andrew.
Thanks, JT. Affordable living is one of the 3 legislative priorities for the House Republican caucus. There's a lot that goes into this priority, including housing. Whether you live in an urban, suburban, or rural area, and regardless of your age, housing costs affect your bottom line financially. Housing costs impact the millennial who's trying to buy their first home, the growing middle-class family who's looking for a larger house, and the senior on a fixed income. And increasingly, the lack of affordable housing is negatively affecting people living paycheck to paycheck and on the brink of homelessness, or those who are already homeless and looking to transition back into a stable living environment. Let's talk about some hard truths and things we need to address if we are going to make housing more affordable in the future. First, it is very difficult and expensive to build in Washington State, and that's just a fact. From the Growth Management Act to the maze of rules and regulations, it's expensive to build homes, condos, and apartments in our state, and the challenges have grown exponentially over time. Unfortunately, these costs are eventually passed on to the homeowners and renters, affecting their bottom lines. The other problem is this: when it's difficult to build, housing supply is constricted. And what happens when your supply is limited? You guessed it, existing housing units become more sought after and expensive. When you factor in that parts of our state are growing economically and in population, particularly in the Puget Sound region, it makes the housing supply and affordability problems even worse. And those pressures get pushed out to suburban areas and even into the rural areas all throughout our state. Now, Republicans have been talking about this for years, about how hard it is to build in our state and how it negatively affects both costs and supply. Democrats are finally awakening to this reality, but it's taken a while. The legislature did take some steps to address these issues last legislative session. For example, we passed condo liability reform. We authorized tiny house communities, and we took some steps to increase urban residential building capacity. These were bipartisan successes, no doubt, but we can and we must do more. For example, we need to make sure the landlord-tenant relationship is balanced. We need to break from the status quo and reliance on publicly funded affordable housing. We need to create more incentives for the private sector to be part of the solution. We need to quit adding new rules and regulations and look to scale back the ones that we don't need. And we need to stop placing more economic burdens on individuals and families, including more fees and taxes.
Well, I warned you that Andrew was an expert on this issue and that his ideas were an asset to the policy discussion and to the House Republican caucus. We now need Democrats to reach across the aisle to help craft and pass bills that will implement these good ideas. Our job this interim is to convince them to do that. Much like education funding, affordable housing is an issue that's just too large and too complex for only one party to solve. And it can't be addressed by an urban state lawmaker perspective only. Folks, thanks for watching. Please consider sharing this video on social media and be on the lookout for the next one. Take care.